Alrighty, so we're back to work on this 2007 Yamaha R6. I've done quite a bit of investigating off camera on this bike, and there's a lot going on with this one. So I found a lot of plugs unplugged on the bike, but the bike came with another wiring harness, so I'm able to actually kind of locate the plugs and where they go. Found out that most of the plugs that aren't plugged in are things like the servo motor right there, and I think like the kill switch. I think the kill switch, the kickstand kill switch was removed as well. There's a couple other things, and the wiring's kind of sketchy on the bike, honestly. The headlights wired in horribly. This is very scary. There's a lot going on with that. The bike originally had 3 codes when I picked it up, and I have gotten rid of 2 of them by swapping out the ECUs. The bike had a random ECU plugged in. I swapped out the OEM one that it came with, and that cleared 1 code. And then I noticed that there was a fuse blowing, and it was the, I think it's called the STV fuse or the ETV fuse or something like that. Found out that was blowing because of there's something wrong with the either this, or it's something, there's a short in one of the wires. I'm not really sure, but it doesn't seem to like this ECU. So this one plugged in doesn't blow the fuse. For some reason this one blows the fuse. Not really sure if maybe that one's actually bad and this one's good, and that's why that's happening. But cleared up one of the codes by plugging that in, and then I cleared up another code by just swapping out the fuse that was blown right there. And then after tearing the plastics all off right here, as you can see, I suspected that the cylinder identification wire was probably compromised. And looking in here, it's actually worse than I thought. See in there, there's one of the spark plug wires is actually just eaten through up on the top of it right there. And then down below it, the actual cylinder identification wire, you can see is just like completely exposed. My camera would focus on this. Yeah, see, that's the cylinder identification wire just eaten up horribly, all because of the position it's sitting by this fan here. And it chewed up, looks like cylinder number 3's wire and the cylinder identification wire. So I got to get a whole new, looks like an ignition wiring harness. So I believe that's why it's throwing the last code. So we're gonna pull this tank off, pull the airbox off, because I tried pulling the radiator bolts out and it doesn't give me enough access. I can't get my hands in there. So we're gonna start tearing this bike apart. We're gonna get down to those wires. We're gonna replace that, see if maybe we can get this bike running. One wire is frayed completely right here. That's a cylinder identification sensor. Let's see if maybe we can fix this. Probably gonna have to order a new one. See if maybe we can fix this. Might have to order a new one of these. See what we gotta do. That's definitely why we got the code. Now we'll be able to start figuring out why the bike won't run, which I believe might need a fuel pump swap in the tank, because I think the fuel pump is probably bad. So we're one step closer. Alright, so I'm just throwing the airbox and everything back together here. I went ahead and replaced the cylinder identification sensor. I thought that's what it was. I ended up repairing the broken one, and it was still throwing code 11. Put a new sensor in there, it was still throwing the code. So I went ahead and threw an ECU in from a running bike I have, another 2007 R6, and no more codes. Mileage pops up. It's a lot more mileage than the lady I bought it from said it had. She told me it only had 3,000. 9,000 is quite a bit different, but that's still not too bad. So we got no more codes. The fuel pump, I believe, is still bad, but I do have a brand new fuel pump. So we're gonna throw the tank on, see if the fuel pump primes now that I got all the codes cleared. If the fuel pump still doesn't prime, we're gonna pull the fuel pump out, swap it over, see if we can get that going, and maybe we can get this bike running, if it even runs. I'm not sure if the motor even runs. Lady told me it did, so I guess we'll find out here soon. Fingers crossed. Let's get to it. There you have it. The 2007 Electrical Nightmare R6 is running. Turns out the fuel pump wasn't priming at first. I just tried starting it once, turned the ignition on and off, and pump primed, and like started right up. It was kind of running, kind of idling, kind of rough at first, kind of jumping back and forth, kind of acting like it was going to stall. But after it ran for a minute or two, it runs really good, runs smooth now. I didn't want to run it for too long because I haven't really checked all the fluids. I didn't even know if the bike would run, so I'm gonna go ahead and check the coolant and oil. I know there's not a lot of coolant in the reservoir, but I'm sure there's coolant in the bike. But I also have to start making a list of all the parts I need. It's not crazy. The bike wasn't really wrecked, so it just needs basic things, you know, grips, bar ends. And it does, I think I'm gonna do a whole new tank and fairings, just because this tank is, it's not dented, but it's just got, it's like got Bondo on it. It's just kind of ugly. I'm not really sure if I want to try to repair this one, but we'll see. Not sure yet. Just needs a few things like passenger seat, I believe. Nothing major. I know I gotta fix the fork seals. They're both leaking. That is one thing I definitely have to address. But I mean, the tires are good. Rear sets are really nice. The bar ends are actually good. They're Vortex. It has a steering stabilizer I'm gonna throw back on there. I mean, the frame looks really nice. I do want to clean up that white paint overspray off of it. I want to get new levers for it. I gotta figure out the headlight wiring situation. I want to get rid of all this. Probably go back to the OEM headlights. Figure out the taillight. What it turned out to be was just the ECU. So I was able to pull the ECU out of my donor bike. So I don't really think I need to buy another ECU for it, but I'll probably factor that into the repair prices either way. I don't want to forget about that because that is going to be a pricey part, so I'm definitely going to factor that in there. Like I said, not too much I got to get for it, but I do want to make it look really nice, and I want to get the stock linkage for it. I want to pick it up. I don't want it lowered anymore, so we're going to start getting the part list ready. We're going to start getting this bike ready to be put together, make it look really nice. Stay tuned. Alright, so we're back working on the 2007 Yamaha R6. Got it running. Took it for a ride a couple hours ago. Went to put it in gear and bike shut right off. The kill switch for the kickstand. It's just not plugged in. I don't know if it's even on the bike, so I just jumped it with a female connector to jump the two connections together. Now the bike thinks that the kickstand is always up. I'll fix that the right way, obviously, but it works for now. The bike goes to the gears, runs fine. So now I'm gonna start trying to repair or fix this paint overspray. Whoever owned the bike before did this really bad paint job on this tank, and when they were doing it, they oversprayed on the really nice frame here. So got some clay bar here. We're gonna take this clay bar, we're gonna take some of this detailer, we're gonna see if we can't remove this overspray. I'm gonna try to be careful with it. Never really done this before, so I'm not sure if this is gonna work. Let me see if it works. The clay bar worked well. Got pretty much almost all the overspray off. Probably gotta work on it a little bit more here and there, especially up here in this hard to get spot here. Got it off both sides though. It's looking pretty good. It hit down. This side looks like at some point there's some scuff in there, but it's coming out pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this side fairing back on and clean it up, make it look a little bit nicer. I'm gonna take it on a ride tomorrow down the actual road. Clean up that headlight. Start making this bike a little nicer. Went ahead and threw some decals on there. Got some chrome blue decals. Went ahead and waxed the frame after doing that clay bar. It's really nice now. It looks really reflective, just like it should. I think this is gonna be where I probably end this project. I was gonna go ahead and repaint the tank and kind of clean up the plastics, but I don't know, I've already rebuilt a couple R6s and I feel like this one is probably better off just selling it as is. It's a really nice bike, but I feel like the time I'd spend working on it really, I'd probably just want to keep it after doing all that. So I think I'm just gonna sell it instead of getting attached to it. I have another R6 right here. As you can see, this one, I could rebuild if I wanted, but I'm probably going to part it out just because the money right now is sadly in parts, not rebuilding. So I'm more kind of into rebuilding the bigger bikes. I love these smaller 600s, but my favorite stuff to build is obviously these, like the 1000s. They're just the nicer bikes. I love those ones so much more, but probably gonna be where I end the series on this bike. Super glad I got it running. This bike runs really nice. It's actually a really cool looking bike. I'm glad I was able to purchase it, get it running. It's gonna be sad to see it go, but it's so I can purchase bigger and better projects instead of kind of just, you know, don't want to build another R6, build another R6, you know, build another R6. You guys have already seen that 100 times, so sad to say it's probably the last episode on it, but like I said, we'll be on to bigger and better things. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned.